Happy Hanukkah, happy Sunday, and welcome to the Big Gay Brunch. It is a special holiday edition of the Big Gay Brunch because it's Hanukkah. And let's see what we're going to be eating today. We are going to be eating an Italian tofu scramble from our cookbook, NYC Vegan, page 32. And we'll be having it with latkes because it's Hanukkah, and on Hanukkah we eat latkes, fried potatoes. We fry everything, and we can have it with vegan sour cream, we can have it with applesauce, you can have it however you like it. And we'll be enjoying some tempeh bacon with it, coffee, and the company of this young lady over here, Rachel McCrystal, the Executive Director of Woodstock Farm Sanctuary.
Hi.
Welcome to the Big Gay Brunch.
Thank you.
So exciting. I'm just putting the camera on.
Latkes are the perfect food.
They hit the fried, they hit the salty, the fatty, potato, everything. It's everything that we want it to be.
I love it.
And I'll join in frame. At this point, welcome, Rachel.
Thank
Hopefully our little monitor system will work so we can see if people
I hope
comment
so.
too.
We'll see what happens. Dig in,
Dig in.
everybody.
Thanks.
Yeah, we've been making you sit here for like 2 hours watching us cook.
Exactly.
I was like, get here early because it might be bad weather, it might be this. Just come early, no big deal, we'll chill. And we're sitting here having coffee, and she's just like, I'm hungry. I mean, so she actually won't be talking during the interview. She'll just be eating, no big deal.
No, just eating potatoes.
Yeah. So, well, welcome. We're so excited to have you on the Big Gay Brunch,
Thank
and
you.
it's been. I'm excited for a couple of reasons, right? Because I'm on the board with you at Woodstock, and this is Q4. This is the end of the year. Fundraising is everything for not-for-profits,
I'm
right?
barely standing. I'm barely like here.
Yeah, everyone in the not-for-profit world understands that, like, particularly like November and December are just brutal, right?
It's brutal. I think, people are so generous this time of year, but it just means that we're running on kind of fumes at this point, and we got a large percentage of our budget in the last month. So we don't really know how it's looking until it's like mid-December, and we're like, we don't know how it's going to end up.
It's a super hard way to live.
Yeah, and I think being a smaller nonprofit, it really is. We don't have an endowment. Thank you. We don't have a bank account with a big savings account. So it really is, we get the money, we spend it. So December's really important.
Yeah, I think people often think like, oh, well, you've got like these major donors, and it's like,
I usually say you are the major
you
donor.
are the major donor.
Like if I'm talking to you and you're like, oh, but you have other people. It's like, no, you matter. You're so important.
Or people say, oh, I give, but I can only give like $20. Like, no, do it, especially when we're doing a match. Like that's everything.
Your 20 can often be 40.
Yes.
It's kind of nuts.
So someone is watching named John Frusciante.
Oh, I know him.
Do we know him?
Hi, John.
He's cute.
Hi, John.
He could have been here, but no, he didn't want to be here.
He has work.
He has work. He's an important guy doing important things. We miss you, John. So how was your week, everybody? You have a good week?
This was, same way I guess you have end of the year scramble. We have the end of year scramble at the office.
We do.
Everyone's deductibles are met. Everyone wants to get in and see their doctor before the end of the year,
right.
and there's only a few days that this happens.
Right. It's like we really don't have that much more time, and then we had a particular issue. Shout out to all of our colleagues who are clearly not watching this, but we'll put it out there. At OrthoRite up in New Rochelle, they are the laboratory that for 13 years have been making our orthotics, and it burned down on Tuesday night with people's orthotics in it, people who've been waiting for a month, people who are like tenuously controlled with levels of support in their walking and standing, and like orthotics, no pain, or no orthotics, severe pain, and now they don't even have an ETM and they might rebuild.
So yeah, a little stressful.
So we're having some issues with that, and I had a really fun week with like all the snow and no sun. That's been fun living with seasonal affective disorder. But we're getting away soon.
Got our holiday gifts out.
We did, and some of our holiday gifts. Hey, Rachel, can you show everybody on the camera? They're all piled up over there. We went with Sweet Maressa's, and they're just right over there. And so they are. There we go. And she makes these beautiful vegan French macarons, and they're so delicious, and they did these amazing holiday flavors, and we sent them out to all of our work colleagues, and it really makes a huge impression. let's dig in, everybody.
Grab some sour cream.
Yes, absolutely.
Is this like a philosophical divide?
So in certain Jewish families it is. And interestingly, well, not interestingly, right? Because for me, it was always applesauce, or my father would do it with ketchup, but because it's basically a hash brown.
Yeah.
But as a kid, I hated sour cream. I liked it in cakes and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but I didn't like sour cream on it of its own. I love to do sour cream. So
I was the same way.
That's so funny.
And so actually, since going vegan, I now put sour cream on my latkes. Really interesting. But I'm sure you're all interested.
You change in ways that you never would have.
I didn't like cheese as a non-vegan.
You didn't like mushrooms?
I didn't like mushrooms, and then all of a sudden these things change. Your
That's
palate
funny.
changes when you go vegan. That's a real thing.
Oh
So does your awareness of the world.
True.
That's my little attempt at a segue here, because I'm sorry, but the world is just a little bit effed up right now.
It's a little topsy-turvy.
It is topsy-turvy, and I want to just jump right into the LGBTQ related news, if you don't
Awesome.
mind, because something crazy, just unthinkably crazy, Orwellian happened.
I feel like people say Orwellian all the time, and we've overused it. And now that something actually is literally Orwellian,
We don't see it.
It's supposed to be.
it's lost that power. Because I think this actually
You're
very
absolutely right, and I think also because there are so many
So many things
Orwellian
happening
type things
simultaneously.
happening simultaneously or consecutively, that we are starting to have attention fatigue, and people aren't paying attention to it. But in case you missed it, the Centers for Disease Control, the CDC, they have to set a budget every year on what they're going to be, investing in initiatives, things like that. And they received a directive from the Trump administration. I like to think of it as being really from Mike Pence. That there are 7 words that they may not use. So now they're actually being censored. There are words that they may not use in any of their budgeting, any of their text, any of their programming, anything like that. They cannot use words like transgender or fetus or my particular favorite, evidence-based or science-based. We can all sing it together. I think these are things that everyone needs to just start posting these 7 words every day on social media, and we all need to just start posting it over and over and over. Literally, a Facebook post, a Twitter post, a Pinterest or Instagram post, and literally just put these 7 words up every single day and just put them out there every day, so that now we're all talking about these words, because that's the only way to resist this, is to use the words, because words matter. And this is the thing, why, for people who don't understand this, explain why they don't want people talking about transgender.
Because if you don't use the word transgender people become invisible. They no longer become part of our culture. They are made to disappear.
And specifically as it pertains to the CDC, what they're talking about is if you can't use the word transgender, then you can't use them in targeted programming, such as a very successful program that the CDC has been working on effectively trying to reduce and eliminate new HIV transmission in the transgender community. So if you can't talk about a program for transgendered people, then the program can't exist.
It's so sad too, because we're talking about I'm here for the B in LGBTQ,
Right.
and I feel very privileged being a white cis lady who I just feel like I have a ton of privilege, and even being bisexual, you can kind of fit into society, and I'm in a relationship with a dude, and so people I don't register as queer to most people, and I feel like the transgender, the T in our LGBTQ community is the most vulnerable. These are people that are being disenfranchised. I mean, the whole bathroom bill thing is a hate bill against the transgender community.
Yeah.
And so it's already a vulnerable population that's unseen and feared by most people.
Yeah.
And then you have your own government trying to make you invisible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
It's horrifying.
and it's particularly insidious when it's coming from an administration where the president still has not proven that he actually does pay any taxes to the government. We all pay our taxes, and then we are paying money to a government that is literally assaulting our community. So, I mean, that just adds an insult to the injury. It's really terrifying that this is happening. And you know, and we all say it's terrifying, and that is a really good word because it does induce terror. If you are an L or a B or particularly a G or T person here, you are terrified by what we are seeing happening here, and we are terrified by it for sure. And the important thing is to not become paralyzed in your terror, but to become mobilized in it. And so it's really important for us to be speaking out, which is why I wanted to lead with this today. And, you know, I mean, as animal rights activists, there's a really important time.
Yeah, because, you know, same way that they are trying to eliminate groups of people and facts by saying you can't use those words, it's the same as when people refer to steak or pork. No, it's a cow. It's a pig. It's not a drumstick. It is a chicken's leg. And so words matter. That's like one of Oprah's.
It's not a processing facility.
Yeah,
it's a slaughterhouse.
These are not processing facilities. These are slaughterhouses.
So we need to call things by their proper names. That was like one of the big takeaways from Oprah when she was on the air was call things by their proper name. If someone is transgender, they are transgender.
Right.
Don't make them invisible.
They're not dudes who are dressing like women and stuff like that.
That's a whole different thing.
It's a totally different story.
It's not a steak. It's a piece of a cow.
Yeah.
It's not bacon. It's a piece of a pig.
A pig who was an individual, who had a family, who was a baby. That's why I think sanctuaries are important, though, is at least is making people make those connections and bringing light to what is invisible in our world. And one thing that people that come to Woodstock Sanctuary, one of the things we say when they go on tours is you may have never met a farmed animal, and that's intentional. So this might be your first experience meeting a cow, and that's not an accident.
No.
I mean, that was an intentional thing that like you've been separated from these animals and from these beings so that you can just see a steak and not actually think, oh my God, there's a piece of a formerly living being on my plate.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that the invisibility factor here, it's what Paul McCartney said, that if slaughterhouses had glass walls, everyone would be a vegetarian. I think they'd be a vegan, but because there's way equally, if not more, cruelty in dairy and eggs than there are in the actual flesh components of those species. But you know, and talking about animals, there's some really interesting news coming out of Chicago.
Yeah, some really good news. We've been similar to what's been we've been trying to get to happen in New York. Chicago is now on the verge of actually banning horse carriages on city streets. So they will still likely be allowed in places like Lincoln Park, but in downtown busy Chicago on the Miracle Mile, they are hoping to eliminate all horse-drawn carriages.
That's amazing.
So that is fantastic. So hopefully, New York, if you're listening, please pay attention. But at the sanctuary, you've got a couple horses
We
now.
do have a couple horses, and actually we rescued a really big guy named Atlas this year, and he actually wears the scars of pulling. So he was rescued by another group, basically on the floor of a kill floor before he was going to get shipped to Canada to be killed. And that's one thing I think a connection that people don't make is that horses are eaten. They're farmed animals, and we might not eat them commonly in our culture, but that doesn't mean
we may not eat them
intentionally. Yeah, we may not know
because we know
them.
that they do actually work their way back into
They do. And I think somebody tested burgers at a fast food chain, and most of them have pieces of horse in them, which is, you know, I think we tend to think we love horses and we care for them, and we really don't as a culture. We throw them away. But Atlas was going to get shipped to Canada to be rendered at a rendering plant and processed.
Killed and chopped up.
Yeah, after a long or arduous, terrible trip that a lot of horses don't even make the trip. And he has scars on his chest from pulling a plow or pulling a carriage, and he's a draft horse, which is the kind of horse that's most commonly used in the carriage industry. And these guys are bought. They're bought usually from farmers at auctions. They're worked for a couple of years in New York City and in Philadelphia and in Chicago, and then they're sold. And they're usually just sold for cheap dog food meat.
Awful.
So, you know,
And they're the sweetest.
They're the sweetest. Atlas is a love. He's beautiful. He's this big black guy, and we have another horse named Trident, who's a teenager,
He's a brat.
He's a brat.
But I love him.
And we love him. And he's actually, our shelter staff is putting him through a little bit of a boot camp right now because he's been acting up. So he's been, and they're working with him because he's been a little bit of a more of a brat lately. And so Atlas keeps him in line. He's just like this big, gentle giant. And
Very
he's
cool.
Amazing.
Yay.
So.
That's awesome. Yeah, people don't understand that horses are farmed animals.
They are.
And that they are farmed for human consumption.
Interesting. The article I was reading about this, one of the people who was against taking them off the streets. I don't know why someone would be, unless you have a financial stake in it. But this woman's point is, well, horses are built, look at their bodies, they're built to pull. This is what they do. No, you know what horses are built to be? Horses, period. They are built to run and play and eat grass and make more horses. That is their job. Their job is not to pull tourists down a street.
That's a logical fallacy too. It's the appeal to nature.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, this is a natural thing, and that's not an ethical argument.
No. That's like, it's like, oh, well, lions eat meat, so we should eat meat.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Lions do a lot of things. They also kill their meat.
And they
greet
pull
each
it
other
off.
by sniffing butts. I don't think you'd want someone
Yeah.
And they rip off the meat off the bone, and they eat the entrails and all of that. And they also have a digestive system that knows that stuff's going to putrefy. Get it out in 6 hours.
They also run around in the African savannah without clothes on all day. And
Well, that sounds
they
like-
don't
yeah.
have houses.
I'm sorry, that just sounds like fun. I would totally run around the African savannah without clothes all day. You heard it here first. I'm sorry.
Because you get such a
Please tell me you're not watching.
I just
Mom.
think that's so funny, that whole natural thing. And it's always like, okay, you're in a house that has heating and cooling.
You're wearing
You're
clothing.
typing this on your computer. You're wearing clothing.
Possibly
You're
wearing glasses.
Yeah, you're ordering delivery food, and you're like, I have to eat this because it's natural.
It's natural.
It's like, all right.
Yeah, there's nothing about your existence that's constructed.
Yeah, you just want to point to this one thing because you want to eat your hamburger.
So before we get to the interview with Rachel, where we really want to ask you more about sanctuaries and the roles of sanctuaries and whatnot, we have like a fun little thing that we want to talk about. So first of all, if you like the latkes recipe,
These are
page
so
117,
good.
they taste, they're different than a hash brown though, right?
A little denser.
A little
They're
denser.
It's got a,
And
it's a
got-
meal.
It's like a patty.
Yeah. But so, Ethan and I were published this year, NYC Vegan, 101 New York City themed recipes. And I was recently republished as me, not as part of Vegan Mo's, as part of the Main Street Vegan Academy cookbook. I have got 4 recipes in here and a number of tips to help people go vegan and stay vegan.
I have 0 recipes in here, and so I'm a little bit less biased here, but I can tell you that this is an incredible cookbook. And I'm not saying it because he's in it, and I'm not saying it because my dear friends J.L. Fields and Victoria Moran are the primary authors for this, and that the foreword is by our former guest here and friend Jane Velez Mitchell. Like, there's so much good information in this book. There is so much that you can learn if you're looking to just sort of expand your repertoire in cooking. Maybe you're already vegan and you're like, I just want to try something different. There's so much in here. And what I love about this book, and we haven't even talked about it, what I love about it, aside from the fact that like the photography is just like...
Photography by
that's
Jackie
beautiful.
Saban,
who did our photography.
So thank you, Jackie. You made my food look great in 2
Because
books.
I'm a really big believer that we all eat with our eyes first, and so it's really important that food looks appealing, even if it tastes delicious. And I learned that from our editor, John Robertson, over at our publisher at Vegan Heritage Press, who kept saying, no more brown food. Well, John, we're eating brown food today, sorry, in your honor. But the truth is that she makes really beautiful photos, and food needs to look appetizing. But the thing I really like is there are so many authors in this book, right? So you've got all these different types of recipes coming from people from different backgrounds, cultures.
So many different voices and perspectives, and so you're not getting this one author's particular take on, here's how I do vegan. No, you're getting 40 or 50 different people telling you this is how they do it. So you learn there's not just one way to eat vegan.
Yeah, I mean, like, this cover photo is a cranberry kale pilaf from Lindsay Greenfield in North Carolina. But, like, we've got your stuff in here. We've got stuff from JL. We've got stuff, like, from all over the country. Colette Rice in California. I mean, like, it's so interesting to me when you get sort of an anthology of recipes like this. Anyway, it's really, really, really delicious, wonderful stuff. and really educational information. And you can get this. It's a great
holiday.
It's a great
the
holiday
two together
gift.
make a really fantastic.
Yeah, and they're both available on Amazon.
On Amazon.
This
Barnes
is
and
actually the week after they've launched now. This was their
This came out this
number one vegetarian cookbook on Amazon in 1 week. So
Yes.
congratulations to our friends Victoria and JL.
And
we are really, really proud of the work that you did here.
to Victoria JL, just for me and all my co-authors and alumni from the Main Street Vegan Academy. Hey guys, we did it.
Yeah,
well done.
really, really awesome. So sorry, we just wanted to put that
A little
out there.
shameless plug.
We had to.
It's
but,
our show. You don't like it, get your own show.
Yeah, we're like, you can do it for free also. We're doing it for free.
I'm pretty sure that's a Katya and Trixie.
Oh my gosh, do you watch Katya and Trixie?
I do.
We're obsessed with
It's
it.
such a great show.
It's
It's
such a
great
show.
show. They play
So
off
what's
each other
making you
really
go,
It's like, I used to watch it when it was just a YouTube series. And I was like, they were on YouTube for like a year. Sorry, this is a drag race tangent.
It's okay.
It happens
It happens to
inevitably.
all of us.
But they had these two drag queens that were on season 7. And then Katya was on All Stars 2.
Mm-hmm.
Should have won. I'm
Totally.
biased.
Totally should have won.
Totally should have won.
She was robbed. They had this really great short series on that was a YouTube series, and it's called and it's just like, which is spelled how that sounds.
It's UNNNNHHHHHH.
It's ridiculous, where they just like wear crazy outfits and like talk about a subject, and it just got picked up by Vice,
It's
which
brilliant.
is
It's
huge
hysterical.
exposure, and they're brilliant, and they're really performance artists. I mean,
They really are.
They really are. They're quite
Fabulous.
brilliant. And I like that they do that segment where they're out of drag as well.
Yeah.
It's something
Their
that
voice.
actually, Honey LeBronx, vegan drag
Yes.
queen, it's something that I like is that every now and then Ben will show up and identify
Yes.
himself as a man, as a cis-presenting man, and
It's like
say,
gorgeous, handsome man.
this gorgeous handsome man, and saying, "I'm Honey LeBronx."
Yeah.
It's like that's awesome. Like we need more of that. We need
Yeah.
people to see the men behind it. I like that RuPaul comes out of drag and stuff like that too. I think it's really good. And so you're out of your drag. I think one of the things that we wanted to sort of highlight before we talk about sanctuaries. Is, as you mentioned before, you're bisexual. You're openly bi.
First B on the show.
So, like, for people
that-
who are
that sounds wrong.
I kind of am, but different B's.
Different B. But I mean, I think the important thing is that people understand that we've been very deliberate since starting this. This is our 7th episode in just under 2 months, and we've been very deliberate that we wanted to have people who are members of the LGBT community as our guests who are also vegan, before expanding out to members of the LGBT community who maybe are not vegan, or expanding out to straight allies within the vegan community.
Yeah.
And so it was very important for us to have this. And since Alan Cumming wasn't available, because he's down in Florida this weekend, just kidding, Alan, we thought, obviously it was really important to get a perspective, because I think, and you can chime in on this if we've talked about this. There are some really bad stereotypes among gay men about men who are bi.
That it's just a pit stop on the way to gay.
Yeah.
Which is not true, obviously, because we all know that sexuality is very fluid.
And a
that
lot
there's
of women won't date bi men because they assume that
They're afraid that one day he's going to wake up.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, because there are genuinely bi men out there, just like there are
There's a
genuinely
whole
bi
episode of Sex
girls.
and the City about
Yes,
that.
there are.
So I mean, we all understand. Like, we just spoke about the incredible, frightening targeting of transgender people in our culture by people on the right end of the political and religious spectrum, and we obviously know about the historic persecution of gays, which have been disproportionately against gay men than gay women and lesbians. I feel like the B gets grouped in, and yet there's a very significant lack of awareness about the B and about like what the different challenges that bisexuals experience in our culture. And I was just wondering if you could speak for all bisexuals.
On behalf of all bisexuals,
On behalf of
Rachel
all.
McCrystal.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I also think that people are using the term pansexual now too, which I think people identify in every different way. But I think people are using pansexual in a way to gesture towards it's not just like cis men and cis women, and you like one or you like the other or you like both, which is kind of what bi implies. But I don't know. I use bisexual. But There's really such a thing as bi-erasure, which is what is referred to in our community, where bi men, cis men, are treated as if they just don't have the guts to come out as gay yet. And bi women are kind of treated the same way. Like, we're all eventually going to default to men. It's like, well, you're all going to just end up with a man eventually.
Yeah.
And maybe that's true, but it really, I think it's pretty sexist, actually.
That's so interesting. I never
Isn't
really
that
thought about that.
interesting?
So, bi men are going to wind up being with men. Bi women won't go to women, they'll go to men too. So everyone's going to gravitate to men.
Because everyone would want to be with the dominant culture.
Yeah.
My mind is just blown.
My
mind
is
never
super
even thought of that.
Wow.
It's like, well, you're all going to just,
Oh, we suck. We suck. We suck. Oh.
It's really, and so
wow.
Mind blown.
Because we get treated very differently, and I think I think it's really important for people that identify as bi or as pan to just come out. So whether or not you're in like a same-sex relationship or a kind of agendered relationship or a heterosexual relationship, just to kind of be out as that. The other thing that drives me a little bit nuts is that there's the assumption too that like that means that you just can't be in a monogamous relationship. And it's like, no, your ability to be in a monogamous relationship has to do with you and what you want from your life and what you want from your partner.
Right.
Just because you identify as being attracted to a variety of gender expression doesn't mean that you need to like sleep with everybody all the time.
So you mean similar to how if we are on a gay cruise or something and a guy that I find hot walks by or a guy you find hot walks by, we're not suddenly going to say, okay, well, that's it, our marriage is over, bye-bye now. No.
There's a presumption of promiscuity for sure.
There is.
And I also think it's interesting that like, I think that comes from a male perspective though, if you think about it, because like the old sort of joke I used to hear when I first came out and was hanging out in the bars 25 years ago was, I could never be bi because like, I mean, seriously, it's hard enough being attracted to all these men. How could I possibly be attracted to all these women too? And it's like, oh, it's all about you. Got it.
Nobody's
It's
attracted
all about
to everybody.
you.
It's like you're attracted to a segment of the population.
It's like
no matter what that segment is.
I find myself to be predominantly a Kinsey 6. I am really exclusively attracted to men. I am not attracted sexually to women. But I can look at a woman and be like, she's beautiful. I can see why she's sexually attractive. I can appreciate it. And by the way, just because I'm attracted to men, I could tell you that I'm probably not attracted to 99% of what's out there. I have very specific types, and if you know my husband and like my ex-boyfriends, you'd probably be able to figure it out. Like it's not that hard.
There's also, it's like math or chemistry, there is another side of the equation.
Yes, there's someone.
You're assuming that the people are also going to be attracted back to you.
Well, there's that male thing again, right?
Sorry, this is science-based, evidence-based stuff. Sorry for using those words. No, I'm not. But yeah. So.
I think it's really, I really feel like, because there's that presumption and the dominant culture kind of supersedes everything, right? I just think it's important for people to be out if they're, no matter where they are on that spectrum. Because I think a lot of people are sort of in between and are not on one side or the other.
Yeah. So
I think that's really important. And then there's a lot of bi-erasure within the community. Particularly, I mean, I've had women tell me that, well, be a good political move if you just dated women. And it's like, political for who? But like, I'm in love with a man, and like,
that's where you are.
I'm like, that's where I am, and that's great. It's very interesting, and it's interesting how I think we're evolving as a community, and people, kind of old school people, keep complaining when we put another letter on the initialism, but I feel that's great. It's like the more people that can just like be like, hey, so I don't really fit in there, but I want to be honest about what I'm feeling, and I don't want to be excluded from this community that I feel like I'm a part of, but I'm agender, or I identify as genderqueer, or like whatever you do, and then also that it could change, and that doesn't mean that you are living inauthentically.
Right.
It just means that one day you felt a different way, and just like if one day you're not attracted to your partner anymore and you wanted another partner and they're a different gender, that doesn't mean that like that was a betrayal of anything.
Yeah, I always think about it in terms of like expanding circles, right? And so we talk about our expanding circle of compassion towards all animals, in sort of encouraging people to not just love their dogs and cats and their companion animals, but to love, to have not necessarily love, but respect and a sense of justice for other animals that they maybe don't see or know, and the ones that they've been eating. And it's the same thing in the LGBT community. I feel like it's okay to just have an ever-expanding circle of inclusivity, because the whole idea is that we, whoever that capital we is, we're one. That's the whole idea. We're lots of different parts of the same sort of.
Of course, and there's not even one way to be a gay man.
No,
so
definitely not.
Even though that's sort of like the dominant face and the dominant voice of our movement is like a cis-presenting gay man, there's like a million different ways to be that. And
there really are.
We need to be.
And they're all here in Williamsburg.
And they're all here. You can walk down the street and meet all of them.
There's a reason we have a rainbow flag. We don't have a single color or a two-color flag. It's a rainbow. It's inclusive. Yeah. We are all part of this.
And we're all being told that we're bad by the current administration. So I think even though, I think, and that's the importance too, is like speak up in solidarity is like, embracing every color of that rainbow flag and just speaking up in solidarity and saying, hey, I'm part of the community too. And even though I'm mainstream looking and I'm mainstream presenting, it's really important for me to speak up and say this and say like, these issues matter. And I think we need those of us that have intense privilege in our community, which the three of us do, it's really important for us to speak up for people who don't have that.
Because we have intense responsibility that comes with that. I agree. One of the things that we did at Woodstock this year was that this was the first year that Woodstock Farm Sanctuary, and to the best of my knowledge, any farm sanctuary marched in the.
I think so. I know other animal protection groups have.
Yeah, absolutely. Mercy for Animals has been marching but the first time a farm animal sanctuary and a vegan farm animal sanctuary marched at the Heritage of Pride Parade for LGBTQ Pride in June this past year, and we're going to be marching again next year.
We are, and we were joined by Vegans of New York. They're amazing, and it was really great. And I think part of what we're doing, we redid our mission and vision statement this year at the sanctuary, and we intentionally put in that we march in alliance with other social justice movements, and that's because we're all in this together, and animal rights is not one thing that you can go off and do in your corner and expect to fix it while everything else around you burns down. Like I really think that we need to get out there for the rights of everybody and bring the animal rights message to the forefront of those movements too. Yeah. So it was so good to just march in solidarity and march with our vision statement on a big banner and get the vegans out there. Yeah,
it was great. I mean, I think there were a lot of straight allies who were vegans and animal rights activists who came to march with the Vegans of New York with us, who probably have never even been to an LGBTQ parade, who'd never been to that kind of experience.
People who were walking with us were probably straight allies.
But so that just shows the power of this, and I hate the word because it's always overused, right? But the intersection of these social justice movements. The idea is to like bring people with similar perspectives on oppression together so that they're stronger together. I
love it, and I actually drove down with Jess Davis, who's our programs manager, and a couple of volunteers, including, I think she's 16 or 17, this volunteer of ours it was going to be her first Pride Parade, and she identifies as queer, and she was so she was so excited and sweet to be in the parade, and then also to be like with all of these vegans. I think she just felt like,
oh my God, my worlds are all together.
Yeah,
my people.
Yeah, my people, and that I think she just felt so connected, and she was like trembling with excitement the entire time, and just her mind was blown. It was such I felt very happy to be part of her first experience.
It's interesting because like having grown up in with a very acute awareness in a very religious community that was Jewish and observant and whatnot, we always joke that like, are you a member of the tribe? And that's sort of like an in-joke with Jewish people. Are you a member of the tribe? He's a member of the tribe. Tribe always had like this very warm feeling to me that like we're part of a tribe, we're part of a group of people who band together with common cultural experience. And it wasn't until I grew up and realized how, and particularly if you're watching the news these days, the tribalism of politics can become very dangerous actually and polarizing. But I think of that girl, and I think this young woman, and like she's got her tribe with her. And it's a really wonderful thing. And when groups speak up and intersect and come together like this, there's a real chance for people like her to find their way in the world faster than the rest of us found ours. And that's a beautiful thing.
I remember when I was first coming out and I lived in St. Louis, which is like the one blue dot in all of Missouri. I'm rollerblading through the park there one day, and all of a sudden I'm like in the middle of gay pride in the park.
And that's how you came out?
I still wasn't quite out yet. And I was just like,
I've got glitter.
I was shaking, but I was like terrified. Like, oh my God, are people going to think I'm gay if I'm in the middle of here? So I like skated faster.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
running
it's just,
from the parade.
Exactly.
Fast forward 10 years later, and you're on a mechanical bull
in a parade.
And 10 years after that, you're a vegan, you'd never ride a bull. That's pretty
That's
awesome.
evolution right there.
So, James, yes, we'll send you any leftover macarons.
Yes.
This one has it, we could
hi,
send
LJ.
them.
Hi, George.
Yeah. Let's talk for like 10 seconds, if we can, about the role of sanctuaries. Because I know you've been really outspoken about it this year. And obviously, everyone knows what farm sanctuaries do insofar as they rescue animals, right? And that's what we do. And certainly we do that up at Woodstock. But I feel like there's an evolving awareness. And I don't know, can you speak more about it?
Sure. I have all the feelings about this. So.
You're almost an authority.
You have no particular opinions now. Just feelings.
So many feelings. So I think this actually kind of turns into the dominant culture thing, as I think we've been messaged to as a movement that like the people that are out there doing the real work are the people, the really big organizations that are run by men, that are predominantly white-led, that are predominantly, skew a little bit older, and that they're doing like this really hard scientific-based work that's based on impact and like getting out there and big numbers and big budgets. And then there's the feminized work of like saving animals, rescuing animals. Oh, how cute that you're so emotional that you like want to cuddle a sheep all day. Yeah. And it's like, I think there's something that's really missed there, in that the work of saving animals and saying these individuals really matter is the cornerstone of veganism. So if we pretend like, oh, the saving of individual animals doesn't matter and it's not worth the time and money and effort it takes, we're undercutting the very premise of our philosophy. So how dare we say that saving that one life isn't important, right? Yeah. It'd be like, oh, well, we can't fix an atrocity that's going on, so we're not going to save one individual. Kathy Stevens at Catskill Animal Sanctuary always says, and I think it's so smart, that it'd be like trying to convince people that children that to care about children's poverty if they'd never met a child. And I think it's true. So like we're rescuing these individual animals and then we're connecting them with people. And at Woodstock, that means 20,000 people a year are actually physically on site, and millions are actually seeing images on social media and seeing images that their friends share of people interacting with animals in this new way, in this way where the animals are seen as individuals and not othered. And like that's super transformative. Yeah. And the results we're seeing from the people that come on our tours and the people that engage with us on social media or that come to one of our talks is that people are making that connection and they're eliminating animal products from their lives and they're sticking to it. So it really is about making that community and making that connection and foregrounding the animals and not just treating them like objects in the system that exploits them, but treating them like individuals in the system that exploits them. And that's like, it's changing the mindset. And it's really, so it's worth the time and the money and the effort and the love to take care of Dylan, the cow, and to have, he had eye cancer, so we had one of his irids removed this year, and we were telling his story and how all of his friends missed him, and they all cried the first night he was gone, and they wouldn't go into their bar and eat dinner. And telling the individual story really personifies Dylan for people in a way that just saying, this many billions of animals are suffering doesn't. Yeah. So I just think I feel like the dominant male paradigm of like, no, we need to reach as many people as possible, and this is the way to do it, really undercuts the base philosophy of what we need to do, which is make people realize that these beings are living, sentient animals who matter and have friends and have family and who need to be. And that's part of my feelings.
No, I think you said it so well, and it's I never thought about it as like this feminized aspect
Oh,
of it.
it's totally dismissed.
But it is, and we're often told that we're sentimental for caring about these animals.
And who is sentimental?
Well, hysterical and emotional women.
Yeah. And it's like as a like fairly serious-minded sort of like type A, a little more masculine.
You? Never.
Never. It's like, no, this is serious work. And also, how dare you dismiss emotions?
Right, well, because the emotion is the grounding. It's the basis for why we act the way we do. It's the basis for why we choose to eat a tofu scramble and not an omelet. It's the reason that I make delicious latkes without eggs in them.
Of course. And if
because you care about it, and because there's a person behind it. And
exactly.
we've had the pleasure of knowing these people and knowing these individuals and knowing who they are as individuals. You can't unknow that once you know it.
Of course not. And I think it's very speciesist. So speciesist is a framing of something that it disregards another species, just like sexism and racism are framings of things. So it's speciesist because you don't even have to go to Kathy Stevens' route and point to a child. Like, why? Of course, we're saving the individual child, so we can care about the big issue. You can even look at dog and cat rescues because we would never tell the Massachusetts SPCA in Boston, just work on spay and neuter and don't worry about saving those individual lives because that's expensive and that's not worth it. We'd be like, oh my God, we have to save, there's 4 million dogs.
How do you say that dog's life is not worth it?
Yeah, how do you look at Riley or Charlie who are watching us?
Coveting the food.
Being like latkes. And how do you say that they're not worth it? And so if we say that as vegans, that an individual cow is not worth it because we'd rather spend the money doing X, Y, or Z, we are saying that they're not as valuable as dogs, which undercuts the very basis of our philosophy.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And so I guess, I mean, you and I have talked about this like a lot, and you and I have talked about it. So I guess all three of us should talk about it. So, I mean, sanctuaries are vegan makers.
Absolutely.
And on some level, I think it's a reason why some people stay away from visiting a sanctuary because they're afraid that like, oh, they're going to just reveal, they're going to make me watch this video or something. What am I going to learn? Which is, of course, all right, then you already know that there's a reason for you to do this.
I'm just going to do a little direct to the camera. Paula.
Paula.
We're talking to you.
We want to bring you
Paula
up next year.
is my sister-in-law, our sister-in-law's mother.
She's a lovely, compassionate woman.
Amazing, compassionate woman. And she's constantly posting like videos of baby goats playing.
Yeah.
And this was right before the tiniest herd actually came to the sanctuary. She started posting these videos all on her own. So I'm constantly telling her, hey, anytime you want to have a first-hand experience with baby goats, please let me know. I will personally introduce you to some of my favorites.
Yeah.
Paula, we have a vegan agenda, but it's a very nice vegan
And
agenda.
so
it's a delicious one, too.
She actually did come out and say to me, I want to go. I'm so interested in going, but I know what's going to happen if I do. And now she's actually... So she was on that like fence, and now she's even leaning further over the fence. So Paula, next summer we have a date.
We have a date for sure.
We'll lean over the fence and kiss a cow.
And there'll be a Pia and Zia moment, and she'll just lose her mind.
Yeah,
Cute little baby goats. But I think that the role of sanctuaries in making vegans is something that I missed personally. When I had gone vegan, I was vegan for the animals for 3 years before I even visited a sanctuary, and. I think that the other part of sanctuaries, though, that some people miss sometimes is that they may not make you vegan if you come there like I did as a vegan, but they help support you in your veganism. And they give you a glimpse of what the world could possibly be if we just respected these individuals. And I think we often are so mission-driven that we're always pointing outward towards getting people who haven't maybe woken up to these issues to wake up to it. I think it's also really important for vegans who are watching out there to understand that there's so much for us as vegans and as people who care about animals and about animal rights. When you go to it, we say Woodstock is not just a sanctuary for animals, it's also for people. When we first went, and I had told you the first time we went, and I said, it's just my happy place.
And you always say that.
I always say I want to go back to my happy place because there are two places in this world that I think of as my happy place. It's Woodstock Farm Sanctuary and Palm Springs, California. And I'm connected on a very like deep level to the energy in that place, for whatever, take it for what you will. And when the sanctuary moved from its original location to its current location, I was really nervous. I was terrified.
Had a moment.
I had a moment of like, what if my happy place isn't happy? And what I immediately realized is, it's actually not about the physical location, which both of them were beautiful in completely different ways, right? It's about the individuals, and it's about the fact that we've carved out a space and time where it's okay for everyone to be in this space, in this sanctuary, where we all just respect each other. And we all can come as we are. You can come if you're a human, you can come if you're a goat.
Yeah.
You can come if you're a chicken. You can come if you're able or disabled or differently abled. And that's a beautiful thing.
It is beautiful. It's a vision.
That's what it's about. It's a vision for the future, hopefully.
It is. And I think the community, the number one reason why people stop being vegan is they don't know people and they don't have that community. And you have a community, you're accountable. You feel like, oh, Ethan and Michael will be so disappointed if I eat this cheesesteak. You just start feeling like this is a community. And so I think you also meet people that keep you accountable. Like you meet animals who keep you accountable. And I do. We had our volunteer party last night at the sanctuary. And it was just so lovely to see people that are like dedicating their time to be there, sometimes every week, to pick up poop and like make a goat's bed really clean. And I think, and everyone always says that, the happy place, that it's a place where they're going, especially if you don't know any vegans in your day-to-day life, where you can go and just be like, okay, I can like let my guard down and I don't feel defensive and people understand it. And I think sometimes when you're by yourself, you just feel like you're screaming into the wilderness.
Yeah, totally.
And then all of a sudden you kind of step into the light and people are like, I get it, it's really hard. Here's what I've done, here's what works for me. I think it makes a big difference.
And I think there's also a great, last point, promise, we'll move on. But there's a real healing that happens for all of us as humans when we care for one another, when we care for other beings, humans or animals. And the idea of being able to minister to these animals, to these farm animal, they're refugees essentially, right? From cases of neglect and abuse and near death. And being able to minister to them isn't somehow a reciprocal healing that we experience for ourselves. And I think if you've never volunteered at the sanctuary, and even if you're living in California, there are sanctuaries. There are sanctuaries everywhere all over this country. And if you're a vegan, if you've been vegan for 10 years and you've never been to a sanctuary, I encourage you to go, because it is a transformative experience for all of us, and in just embracing deeper levels of empathy and compassion. But on to the really important part of this, right? We have our favorite five. These are our favorite five questions.
Coming up at the sanctuary?
We will. Okay. We're gonna ask her that in the future. I want to get onto like the favorite five. So what is your favorite film? It's a hard question.
So I would say Blade Runner.
Wow.
The original.
That was good. Okay, that was gonna be my follow-up then.
I've loved that movie. I'm big into dystopians, like sci-fi dystopia.
So what's happening out there?
I planned, I prepared, I know what to do. Definitely, but then I'm also a real Charles Chaplin fan.
Oh.
So I love City Lights, I love Gold Rush, but City Lights is I love The Great Dictator, the first movie where Chaplin speaks, and it's actually a good movie that you're watching right now, because it's really inspiring and beautiful, and you just, this is a man who had his whole career in silent films, and then he does the first movie and he doesn't speak until the end, and he's playing both someone who's running from the Nazis and also he's playing Hitler.
Right.
And he basically then deconstructs the whole thing and does like this call for compassion and empathy at the end. And it's the first time you hear Charlie Chaplin's voice.
Wow.
And it's beautiful and very like.
I have to admit, I haven't seen it. I know the film, but I haven't seen it.
I've seen it 4 or 5 times, and every time I see it, I just cry at the end. It's
amazing.
Beautiful. It's like a call. Yeah, it's a
All
big.
right, we have to watch that.
Okay.
We're definitely gonna watch that, and we'll report back. A little bit lighter. What's your favorite vegan condiment?
Sriracha.
Really?
Not even no.
That was like I could barely get the question mark on that one.
John's watching. That was like the one thing when we moved in together. He was like, I'm finally appreciating hot sauce because I'm just like, I love it. I love Frank's. I love Cholula is really good, but yeah, sriracha I can put on hash browns. I put on some latkes. It just doesn't matter. Anything potatoey.
I wish I knew. I would have.
Anything
We do have Frank's.
We do have Frank's here. So who's your favorite LGBT vegan celebrity?
There's so many of them, right?
Right.
I would have to say I'm really feeling Laverne Cox going vegan. Because I think she's been such a powerful voice for so many movements, and so Ruby Rose went vegan, and then I think and Laverne I think has only been vegan for a couple months, but has been very out and proud and talking about it.
That's amazing.
And I think she could have, if she sticks with it and gets connected and like works with some organizations, she could have a real big impact.
So we got to get Laverne Cox up to the sanctuary.
For those of you who do not know who Laverne Cox is, she is a transgender actress. She is on Orange is the New Black.
Amazing.
She was fantastic on that. She was on when they did the NBC Live of Rocky Horror. She played Frankenfurter. She is amazing. She is gorgeous. She is powerful.
And she's an outspoken trans advocate, and
she's so good.
Hopefully soon an animal rights activist.
Hopefully soon an animal rights activist.
And it's so great because she even said when I heard her interviewed on it, she said, she did say it was for the animals.
Of course.
Which is so like.
It's so easy for all of us who've been marginalized to appreciate and connect with those others who have been marginalized, which is really interesting.
Powerful.
What is your favorite vegan destination city?
Philadelphia.
I knew you were going to go there, but I got to tell you, it's an amazing place.
Right?
It's an amazing place.
So I lived in Philadelphia for 10 years, and I just moved to the Hudson Valley in June.
And you love it there.
I'm loving the Hudson Valley, but we really miss pizza. So there's Blackbird, which is an all-vegan cheesesteak pizza place, which Screamers is fine Screamers. Like, it's great. I love Screamers.
It is.
Blackbird is like
pizza.
Yeah.
Blackbird is just like the best, and they do a tofu cabano, which is just to die for. And they have like, there's veg, and there's V Street, and there's Bon, and there's Hip City Veg. I know.
Someone's been like, he's been scratching at me, and I just
Let me tell you about Philadelphia.
We just can't keep playing that.
So, but that's the one thing that we have been really missing. It's like just the ability to go to Blackbird and just eat fries and pizza. And it's just, what's so great about Philly too is like, you can go downtown and you can walk to 7 different vegan places. Miss Rachel's Pantry is there.
I love Miss Rachel's Pantry.
There's a vegan diner called The Tasty in South Philly. There's veg. It's just, veg, which I hold is that I think like one of the top vegan dining experiences in the country.
I agree with you completely.
So I would say Philadelphia.
And V Street, we had a really good time.
We had a great time.
V Street's really
for our anniversary.
Yeah. And last question: what would be like your favorite LGBT?
Hi, Linda.
She misses you.
What would be your favorite LGBT destination city?
So I'm a California girl, so I have to say San Francisco.
That makes sense.
I think you gotta, the history and, I think it's still there. You kind of have to like go out, maybe even like over the bridge and hang out in Berkeley a little bit to kind of get sort of the gritty.
Which is also a great vegan hangout.
Yeah.
God, we had so much fun there this year.
Yeah.
San Francisco's changed so much, but I still think it was just such an important landmark city for the movement, and I think it still has that. And there's just a lot of innovative, cool stuff happening there.
Completely agree.
Plus, if you go running in San Francisco, you get a really cute butt because it's all hills.
Oh, everyone in San Francisco has an amazing butt.
Yeah, because you can't help it. It's just wherever you go, there's hills.
I know, it's pretty amazing. Well, thank you for answering our favorite 5. So, this sort of brings us to the end of our show, but before we talk about things coming up with us, what's coming up with Woodstock?
So, there are 2 weeks left in the year, and we have a match going on. So we have an anonymous donor who's giving us $100,000 if we raise $100,000. And I think we have like $70,000 left to raise. So it's not insurmountable.
We can do it.
And I know a few people I have seen check in have given this year, so thank you. But it means that every gift that's given now is doubled, which is really big. I mean, we're not a big organization. We like I said at the beginning of the show, we make the money and we spend the money, and it's, so it's there's no fat. We're just really focused and getting the work done. So that is happening.
Yeah.
So
and as far as as far as like small donations, I always love to say this when a match is going on.
It's
Like
not.
your small
There's no such
donation
thing
is
as a
not
small-
small anymore.
There's no such thing, honestly.
People say I can only give like $20. Great, but then someone else is going to give 20 with you.
This is our movement, is that the activists and the people on the ground are the same as the supporters. There's no like uber wealthy individuals that are funding all. It really is like
We don't have Koch brothers.
no.
Same way,
We don't.
same way Obama won his elections, just those $25 donations from
Same thing
people.
with Bernie Sanders elections. I mean, a lot of people giving just a little bit, and some people giving a lot.
Yeah, it
really
makes
helps.
such a big difference. It really
Yeah.
does. And then we are. It's very cold at the sanctuary. All the animals are getting up or late in the morning, and they're to bed by 5 p.m. because they go to bed when the sun sets. So we are ramping up while they're sleeping. We're ramping up for next year and doing budgeting and planning for our big June jamboree, which we're actually going to make into sort of a mini veg fest and have speakers, and it's going to be in early June. And then we're going to do Woodstock again and Thanksgiving again. So we're kind of ramping up, and we're also doing all of our advocacy planning. We have something planned for every month.
Wow.
And so people can come to the sanctuary and volunteer, but they can also sign up to be an advocacy volunteer, because we are really, really trying to get out there and actually help other people who are doing demonstrations and really great vegan work, but also do some of our own. And so it's going to be like we're ramping everything up, and we need everybody.
And so, if people need to get more information on how to get involved, how's the best way for them to get involved?
So WoodstockSanctuary.org. I'd also tell you can click on volunteers, and it'll give you all the different volunteer opportunities. You can click on donate if you want to give us a few bucks. And then also just learn about the sanctuary, but also we have a really good social media content, and it's a great way. We don't post a lot of graphic or horrible things. We try to really just do a lot of stuff that's happening at the sanctuary. So I actually find that to be a great vegan space too, because you just get to see like what your favorite animals are doing today at the sanctuary, like who's sleeping in because it's snowy. All the pigs are sleeping in. Spoiler alert.
Todd.
Yeah.
Todd puts up.
Yes.
Hey Todd, if you're watching, he puts up the best videos with the pigs every
trying
day.
to get them up in the
Trying to get them up in the
morning.
But he whistles and they come running,
Yes,
just
they
like
love
people
him.
would when you whistle for your dog.
Just like you don't
They
like to
come
get
running
up in the
because
morning.
recognize
they
him,
know
they
their
love
names
him.
and they love him.
The animals, they know all the caregivers, they know all the volunteers, they just have their favorites. But I'd also really follow us on Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We're on Pinterest, I think. We haven't posted there in a while. But just it's a really great way of doing advocacy too and being part of the community is sharing that content.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for
This
coming,
has been amazing.
driving down and joining us.
Of course, and thanks for the food.
To all of you out there, we are actually not going to be on next Sunday because next Sunday is Christmas Eve, and we will be out celebrating with some of our dear friends in New Jersey and doing a lot of cooking in advance of that. So we wish you and yours happy holidays. If you're celebrating Hanukkah, happy Hanukkah, Chag Sameach. And for those of you who will be celebrating Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Festivus for the rest of us.
We'll air our grievances later.
We'll air all our grievances later on our next show, which will be on New Year's Eve, and it will be our first
on location.
Yeah, it'll be on location, but we're not telling
you
who our
where,
guests
and we may
are.
have some special guests, but all will be revealed.
It's not may not. We're definitely
going
having
to
some special guests. Yes. We're just not telling you in advance because we want to tease you. And so before you take your disco nap on New Year's Eve, because everyone's got to take a disco nap, just tune in here. It'll be 11 a.m. Eastern, and it's going to be a really fun location. It's going to be a really fun group of people, and that's all we're going to say about it.
That's all we're saying right now.
Okay,
so thank you for watching. We will see you all in 2 weeks.
Bye, everybody.
And stay in touch.